Alright, so now we are on the second take of this video because of reasons. So this is kind of like a list of childhood phobias I had because of, just being young and having horror around me from a young age. And just dumb people in general, I think. Right? And so, yeah, quite literally what kept me up at night, as most of the kids deal with. And graphic warning, because some of these things were probably things people shouldn't have been putting on in the front of their house. All right. Yeah, Rick Astley really scared me as a child. No. Uh, so we got, Freddy Krueger, played by the actor Robert Englund. Now, if you don't know, the whole shtick to his character is that he died in a fire because he was a predator of sorts. And that he comes back to kill people in their dreams. And I don't remember ever seeing the movies at all. I just knew of the character, and it was just something, people would say, oh, Freddy. And it's like, I think at one point I saw the one where, like, he injected a bunch of needles into somebody. But yeah, it's just, it kept me up at night because I get the image of him in my head. And I just couldn't get out of it because I have a very good visual picturing, right? And this guy would just keep me up at night sometimes. And yeah, didn't enjoy that actually. Though one little anecdote about him in particular, right, is I once, for the first time in my life, stayed up through the night one time and was solely watching dead meat videos, right, on him and him. So I actually grew to be not so afraid and actually enjoy their characters a little bit more. Then you have Chucky, or Charles Lee Ray, from the Child's Play franchise. And I had a babysitter that you might remember from the 13-year-old memory video. And that babysitter's son had this almost exact good guy doll. You'd walk into their house, it's about 2 stories, and you'd walk in the front door and see down the hallway to like the kitchen and living room, and there's that doll. And I'm like, yeah, as an adult, that's kind of messed up to keep that around where children are, you know. So yeah, he probably didn't have a doll. I know he had some sort of weapon, I think, but yeah, it was just not good. And again, like I said, I stayed up through the night one time and watched a bunch of dead meat videos pertaining to these guys. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty funny. In fact, the one line from the second one, it's like, "How's it hanging, Phil?" I thought was great. Yep. Yeah, that's why I said graphic warning, I think. So, this is not the exact one. I couldn't actually find it. But it was one Halloween when I was younger, maybe like 12 or 13. And I came across a local house in my neighborhood that had Halloween decorations of a ghoul baby, right? And I don't know how I can phrase this without, well, this is pretty bad for YouTube, but like, the idea was that it was eating skull candy like it was Cheerios, essentially. Let's put it that way. And yeah, I didn't appreciate that. In fact, I had this idea that, it was gonna pop up from behind the head of my bed and it was just gonna gnaw on my brains. And I didn't like that. So that kept me up at night. And like I said, it's all about stuff that kept me up at night. Now Nosferatu, that one's an interesting one. It's one of those things I think still holds up well for like children, maybe not so much adults. But that's an interesting actually idea about fears and horror and like stuff that, because kids are generally more afraid of a monster while adults are more afraid of metaphorical monsters or things that are a little more abstract. But this, as a kid, terrified me. My first exposure to it was the episode, I think the night shift episode from SpongeBob. I don't remember what it's called. But yeah, I explain this all the time to my coworkers sometimes because they're a little too young and they don't know about SpongeBob, right? There's this episode where SpongeBob works a night shift, which I don't know why there's a night shift at the Krusty Krab, but nobody's there. You know, yeah, I mean, even Mr. Krabs, might not understand that he's apt to make almost no money. But then again, that is Mr. Krabs. He doesn't care. But yeah, so the idea was that there's a bunch of stuff happening that all gets explained away at the end of the episode. The slime it through the walls, this and that, phone calls, but the flickering on and off of the lights was not explained. So you're like, how could that be happening? So you zoom on this motherfucker, right? Which in itself is a bootleg of Dracula, right? This film almost got lost entirely because of copyright laws at the time. And, this guy, he's called Nosferatu, and he is, yeah, he's just a vampire, and with really long hands and a creepy face. I think this one, well, he's usually referred to as Nosferatu, but he's also called Count Olaf, I think. And, yeah, they showed this guy, he's like, with his creepy face. I didn't like it as a kid. I thought it was scary. And then at one point, I also saw this one expressionist scene from the movie, right? Where oh boy. Yeah. Just tell me how I'm doing, all right? Yeah, Slender. And he like reaches across with like shadow silhouetted fingers towards like the lady, I think the Mina or Lucy of the story. And I slept with the covers up to my neck at that point because as a kid you believe blankets are going to keep you safe. All right, bees, wasps, and hornets. When it came to, there's one hornet, I think it was a hornet, and it stabbed me in the foot, right? And on second thought, it might have been a different type of bee, right? Because they had to dig the stinger out, and I'm almost certain only bees do that, but I could not distinguish, and I did not like these winged, guys for quite some time afterwards, right? I did not go them. I ran them away with my open can of soda in the summer, and I just did not like them. And for recent years, I've actually come to appreciate what they do for, nature and shit, but I still don't like them. I will, however, not mark them on site, and you generally try to treat them with respect. But yeah, I just didn't like them. It's more has to do with just a phobia of bees in general. Yeah, I hated it. Now back to zombies, or I usually say ghouls, or at least I try to make an effort to say ghouls, just because zombie has cultural significance, and ghouls is more closer to the point. Although even ghouls itself is not exactly a description of what we usually call a ghoul or zombie these days. Welcome to Dead House, Goosebumps #1, and infamously one of the most graphic Goosebumps books ever to come out, right? And what I didn't like was zombies at the time. I really just did not like the idea of being bitten, basically. I think it was part of my reasoning for not liking the terminal things. And it's like you have, you're basically bit. In most cases, you're bit and then you're doomed to die, essentially. Unless, however, you get that arm cut off and maybe you might survive. But generally, you're just doomed to die. And then you're shot and then you're killed again, right? It just kind of sucks. And in this one, basically you are alive after death, and you basically drain a new person's blood, so that you can sustain yourself. And sorry for spoilers, it's been 20 years now, get over it. And yeah, that's what this plot is. And then there's the imagery of, mainly I was scared of the episode where like people were literally trying to like gnaw them. But like that also came from pre-existing fears of zombies at the time. And then this, oh my god. As an adult, I love this episode. It's so fucking goofy. And also great. But like, so these things are called the creeps. And also, just tangent about the book in general. It's an anecdote about the book. I had checked that out from my local library, right? And they're like, I returned and they're like, hey, there's a weird stain, a brown stain, right? On the book. We're gonna have to make you pay for it. I'm like, I don't remember eating anything like that. What are you talking about? And, I ended up paying for it. I now own the book, but it's like, you know how many stains I've seen in your books sometimes? it's like, why is that my fault? Anyways, you had to walk in the rainstorm just to give them their money. And yeah, so I didn't like it. The idea of the visual of these eggs in the book was also kind of weird. And these guys, just the transformation, I just thought was like creepy as a kid. I often watched Goosebumps on Halloween evenings when the Cartoon Network would play it. But as an adult, I love the idea of the ending where he well, it is pretty good. I'm not gonna spoil that one. That one's a little more obscure, so you might not have heard about that one. Yeah, and that's the end, boys. And now I should say, most or all of these I've overcome. I still have some phobias that weren't listed here. And it's pretty much not a good thing to put your phobias out there on the internet, right? Like, I've had jobs where, like, the bees come in the summer because all the sugary sweets attract them. And I say, like, yeah, they're just doing it. Don't get too close to them. Be, like, mindful of them. And it's, like, not a big deal. And they'd be like, yeah, they're only here for the sweets. So it's like, it's not, I don't know. What are you going to do? You might as well just airlock the whole building. Or if it's, for Freddie and Chucky, grew up, I matured and had the ability to comprehend and digest that material, and it really wasn't that bad. Or, we had, like, still don't like the idea of terminality that usually comes with zombies. However, yeah, I don't know if I could sit through a zombie movie, but I definitely find the concept sometimes rather interesting. Or I like to learn the history about the word zombie in particular, right? I find that one pretty interesting. There's like a BuzzFeed Unsolved video on it, I think, and how like it really didn't come out until the second George Romero movie on it, The Dawn, right? And these, I think it was a cool experience to kind of share these sorts of things. And maybe you're an up and coming YouTuber, or maybe if you want to put down in the comments things that scared you, I could go over them or even watch them. All right, I hope you have a good day. That's all.